So we were discussing about APSGN, that is acute post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis. We have discussed the pathophysiology, the clinical features and the diagnostic investigation in a patient of APSGN. Now let us conclude this topic by discussing the management of APSGN. APSGN usually is a self-limiting disease. The disease subsides or the child recovers by its own unless and until there is any complication associated with disease. We have discussed the complication associated with APSGN are basically hypertension, heart failure and hypertension leading to hypertensive encephalopathy and heart failure leading to pulmonary edema. So, in a patient of APSGN, at first we have to decide whether or not this patient requires hospitalization. What are the parameters that help us decide that this patient requires hospitalization or this patient can be treated on the basis of outpatient? So, if a child with normal urine output and normal blood pressure, this child can be treated on outpatient basis. But if the child has hypertension, this child should be admitted and the child's BP should be monitored regularly. This is because in hypertension in APSGN is a labile hypertension. Labile hypertension means the blood pressure is fluctuating in the patient of APSGN or in the patient of labile hypertension. This fluctuation of blood pressure in labile hypertension can lead to hypertensive encephalopathy. As because the blood flow to the brain is regulated by the cerebral blood vessel so finely that the systemic blood pressure or the change in systemic blood pressure does not affect the cerebral blood pressure. But if there is sudden fluctuation in systemic blood pressure, this can lead to fluctuation in blood pressure of the brain, which in turn can precipitate hypertensive encephalopathy. So this type of hypertension is known as labile hypertension, in which there is fluctuation of blood pressure, and this fluctuation of blood pressure leads to fluctuation of cerebral blood flow and this fluctuation of cerebral blood flow in turn can precipitate hypertensive encephalopathy in a patient of APSGN. So if there is presence of hypertension in patient of APSGN, such patients should be admitted and BP should be monitored regularly. So usually the APSGN is self-limiting disease, but if there is presence of hypertension or reduced urine output leading to oliguria or anuria, such kind of patients should be admitted and some drugs should be advised to the patient of APSGN, which we will discuss now, and BP and urine output should be monitored regularly. The other general points in management of APSGN is the bed rest. Why bed rest is advised in patient of APSGN? As I told you that one of the complications of APSGN is heart failure. So if the child's activity is not reduced to an extent, this in turn can precipitate heart failure in the child of APSGN. So bed rest is advised in the child of APSGN. Salt restriction should be done in patient of APSGN. As there is edema in APSGN, and if we give more amount of salt to the patient of APSGN, this in turn can aggravate edema. So salt restriction should be a part of management in patient of APSGN. The usual diet that we preferred in patient of APSGN is the carbohydrate diet. Not more amount of protein should be advised to the patient of APSGN, as there is chance of renal failure in patient of APSGN if we prescribe or if we advise more amount of protein to the patient of APSGN. This in turn will lead to production of more nitrogenous waste product, which in turn will accumulate more in the blood due to renal failure. So the protein should be advised not more than 0.5 mg per kg per day. So the usual preference or the usual preferred diet in a patient of APSGN is the carbohydrate diet. In the same way, as due to edema, the input-output should be monitored. The fluid input and the fluid output should be monitored very strictly in the patient of APSGN. The fluid input which the child take orally or we give as an intravenous fluid should match the output, that the child urine output as well as the insensible water loss. the insensible water loss in the form of respiration and perspiration, that is the sweating. So these two components, the input and output, should be balanced in such a way that there is not any fluid overload in a child of APSGN. The input should match the output is the urine output and the insensible water loss. Sometimes we have to match the input with the output only with the insensible water loss and not with the urine output. This is known as negative fluid balance. If there is gross edema in the patient of APSGN, then we have to do negative fluid balance. Negative fluid balance is that whatever the input we are giving to the child is equal to only insensible water loss, that we calculate it as 20 mg per kg per day, and we should not replace the urine output as there is gross edema in the patient. So this type of fluid balance we call it as a negative fluid balance. So input output should be monitored very strictly in the patient of APSGN. And you have understood what is negative fluid balance and when we have to apply this negative fluid balance in the patient of APSGN. This negative fluid balance we can also apply in the patient of nephrotic syndrome. The other drugs which we can use in the patient of APSGN is the diuretics. Diuretics in the form of furosemide is safe in child, so it has a major role in treating a patient of APSGN. Diuretics reduces the edema in the patient of APSGN as well as it controls hypertension to some extent. So diuretics in the form of furosemide help us reduce edema in the patient of APSGN. It also help us reduce the chance of heart failure in patient of APSGN. Or if there is any impending heart failure or in the patient of APSGN, we can use this diuretic to control the heart failure in patient of APSGN. As well as if there is an associated hypertension in patient of APSGN, usually diuretics bring the blood pressure to some extent below. So it also helps in hypertension. But if there is severe hypertension in patient of APSGN which is not controlled by diuretics, then we have to use some other drugs other than diuretics to bring the blood pressure of the child down. The other drugs other than diuretics are the amlodipine and the nifedipine. Nifedipine can be used in child to reduce blood pressure in APSGN. So, and if there is hypertensive encephalopathy in patient of APSGN, or if there is hypertensive emergency, BP is increased to such an extent that neither diuretics nor amlodipine or nifedipine is working, in such situation we have to use more aggressive drugs like IV nitroprusside to bring the BP down and reduce the chance of hypertensive encephalopathy. So these are the basic points in treating a patient of APSGN. And if there is renal failure or if the renal failures has already occurred in patient of APSGN, in such situation we have to take the patient for dialysis. The indication for dialysis in patient of APSGN is that if there is hyperkalemia due to renal failure, acidosis due to renal failure, or if there is deterioration of renal function as evident in renal function test, in such situation we have to take the patient for dialysis and save the child's life. Now let us discuss about the prognosis. We shall discuss the prognosis of both the disease, that is the APSGN as well as the nephrotic syndrome. But before discussing the prognosis, let me tell you one more important point regarding management of APSGN. You will think that the APSGN started with an infection, that is the streptococcal infection, as we have learned in pathogenesis of APSGN. And you will ask me that whether or not there is any role of antibiotics in treating the patient of APSGN. There is no role in treating the patient of APSGN with antibiotics, as because the infection which has led to activation of immune system and production of antibody, that infection has already been subsided in the patient of APSGN. So there is no role of antibiotic in treating the patient of APSGN. As APSGN is an immune mediated disease, the antibody which is formed in response to the streptococcal antigen has already destroyed the streptococcal antigen in the streptococcus bacteria as a whole. So the bacteria is already being destroyed. But if there is an active infection in the form of sore throat or pyoderma which is still active, the antibody has not led to destruction of this bacteria. In such situation, we can use antibiotic if and only there is an active infection present. The antibiotics which can be used if active infection is present are the penicillin and the erythromycin. These two antibiotics, to kill the strep bug, we can use these two antibiotics. Now let us discuss about the prognosis of both the disease, that is APSGN as well as nephrotic syndrome. APSGN is a self-limiting disease. It occurs as a one-time disease due to streptococcal infection. And whereas nephrotic syndrome is a remitting and a relapsing disease. Once there is remission, there is chance of relapse. Almost when only 20% of the patient of nephrotic syndrome has one-time disease. The 40% of the patient of nephrotic syndrome has relapse, but this relapse occurs 1 or 2 times more and the patient is cured. The another 15% patient of nephrotic syndrome has relapse which lasts for around 10 to 15 years, and another 10% of patient of nephrotic syndrome relapses and dies ultimately, and another 10% of patient of nephrotic syndrome dies within 2 years. So this is the course of nephrotic syndrome. Whereas APSGN, it is a self-limiting disease, one-time disease. It is very rare that you will see APSGN occurring in a child or adult two times or more. It is usually a self-limiting disease, and prognosis is usually good in child than in adults. So this completes our